Wait, that's good because I've got this stuff all over the place.
That's okay. Just close that. Just hit OK.
Can you close this as well?
No, don't, because that'll end the meeting. Just hit the little 2 arrows, the double arrows.
Okay.
I'm not logged in. I got logged out.
Who else is not muted? Somebody back there. Okay, go for it.
So this is my data set. It's the
My name is, you are who?
My name is Rachel, and this is my data set. I've got US coal prices by region over time, and the original data has just a bunch of different coal mining regions that you can also kind of unselect, deselect. And
Okay, so that just adds them to the view as you click on them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is what my workflow looked like.
So can you explain briefly what the purpose of the project is?
It was to take API data and put it into Tableau. And
Unmuted. I do this every time. I'm so sorry.
And yeah, so the first 4 steps were just data extraction and reading the source file and being able to parse the JSON file out.
So can you walk through the different tools,
Yeah.
please?
So this one is just importing the file from the API URL. So over here we've got the URL that the data came from, and the next step was to download it, and then the next step was to remove. There were some strings that were already, well, columns that were not necessary, some fields, so like the URL itself. So I removed those. And then the next step was the JSON file parsing.
Yep.
So getting it into the format that we see down here.
So that basically makes it a long table, right?
Yep. And then it's a long table, but a lot of things seem to be stuck together, as we see here in the dots. A lot of different types of data, headings, dates, as well as the values themselves. So the next step, the next tool here separates that out a bit into 2 columns. We've got the
Into 4 columns.
Yeah, 4 columns. We've got the data set and the types of data. And again, it's still quite jumbled up. And what we've noticed here is that in JSON main 2, a lot of fields are marked data, but then further up there are other observational or header type fields. So the next step takes that all out, and we're only looking at data at the fields marked data. And then the tool after that then takes out again the columns that we've separated out, so the original columns. And the tool after that puts things into a nicer order. So it separates so these column headings were fields as well. So I turned those into headings.
You're making it a wider table instead.
Yeah, at first. And then I've renamed the columns. I did that manually.
Okay.
Because, again, all that data had been taken out in one of the earlier steps. And because it was a wider table, I then had an extra step here to put it all back together and make it long and narrow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the output file goes,
Okay, so you extract it into
into a TD.
output it to a Tableau extract for use in Tableau. Okay. Very good.
And then this was the viz that I ended up with, which shows I think the main story here is that there's been quite a lot of volatility in coal price in the US since 2008 across different regions, except for Powder River Basin. And that's because that's a lower grade of coal. It's much lower. And I've marked the slope chart at the top shows the change between 2008 and 2017, and the maximum values have been marked on the chart below. And as you can see, the Powder River Basin data or prices peaked much later than the others, but even then it wasn't much of a change between the high point and low point.
Oh, okay, so you labeled the high point so you can see how long ago they were.
Yeah. Most of them peaked around 2008, and after that there was quite a crash in global commodity prices.
Okay.
And part of that might have been due to Obama going for cleaner energy sources. And
yeah, there were some restrictions put in on the coal industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and with Trump's election at the very end of the data, we can see prices starting to rise again, perhaps in anticipation of those measures being reversed.
Yeah, I would assume so, yeah. So some quick feedback. This is pretty good overall. I like your workflow and everything. It's very nice and clean. I would typically put the source that you have at the top at the bottom, so it's kind of out of the way.
I tried to do that, but then it said because I couldn't stick it over the axis.
But you can put it underneath because it's just a dashboard. You just layer it underneath. I can show you.
Okay.
And then I would probably spread some of you see how your numbers are overlapping each other?
Yeah.
I would spread those out. You can manually move those once they're, once I get it kind of the size I want. And when I'm in the dashboard, I'll manually drag them so they don't overlap each other.
Yeah, you have to show me how to do that because I tried it.
Yeah, you just click on it and move it. Like literally click on the label and move it. But I like how you labeled the high point for the lines as well. So it's pretty clear. Any other feedback?
Just wondered in your workflow, you took out the headers. They were in the download, but then you manually re-added them in. Did you try to keep those headers in place, and then when you did you transpose?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
Yeah, that's good.
So maybe she could have put on her filter where she filtered them out. She could have her false output there would have had the headers, and then she could have put them. Yeah, maybe.
Like like what we did before with the sample.
Yeah. Use the dynamic rename.
Yeah, that might have worked. Yeah, that's a good idea.
I would also maybe color the numbers as the bar charts. I mean, they're pretty easy.
You mean make the numbers the same color as the lines? Yeah. That might make it a bit more clear. Yeah, it's true.
Potentially, could you have made a slope chart?
Sorry?
Could you make the top graph a slope chart potentially?
It is.
Okay.
It's only 2 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, I think it's good how you did a slope graph there because it shows the overall. Basically, it does the overall of what you're seeing in the bottom, right? So you're starting with a high level and then going into detail.
Yeah. And
What's the black line?
oh, the black line is the average.
Oh, okay.
The tooltip shows that.
Right.
I guess it's not clear because I didn't put it into the legend.
Okay. Well, yeah. You could even just put like another text box or something, an annotation that says what it is or something. But That's good.
To get the image background the same color as dashboard background, how did you do that?
I went into PowerPoint and there's like a tool there that says remove background. It was all just white background, so it did it really easily.
On PowerPoint?
Yeah.
You can mask it out.
So it's just like PNG.
Yeah, you just save it as a
Yeah.
PNG, and then it'll after you remove it, save it as a PNG, and then the background will be gone. Yeah. Very good. Good job,
Awesome.
Victoria. So let me make you presenter.
Hello everyone, my name is Victoria. This is the website that I use to take API data about beers. I don't know if I should say anything else about it. I just extracted all beers and all information from it. So moving on to Alteryx, I've used similar tools to Rachel. So first data input, then browse.
So your data input, both of you, I think, just had all you had to do is just copy the URL from the website, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you're doing a download like Rachel
download,
did, right?
exactly. Then selecting the data, parsing it into those two columns. Then separating the zero from the
Okay.
and then transposing the downloaded data.
So when you did can you go back one step before your transpose? No. Your select there. So that has, the value, let's see, so download data 2 has your column headers basically, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then when you transpose it, can you go to when you cross tab it?
Yeah, cross tab it.
So you pick download data 1 is what you want to group by because that's the individual beer number. It's like beer ID more or less, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then you tell it to use data 2 as your headers and then the value. Okay, got it. Okay, so you did an auto.
Yeah.
Okay.
And basically, that's when I ended up the preparation and went to Tableau, and then I came back to Alteryx because I figured I need some more alteration done. So I figured that it would be more useful for me to have food pairings together as one line, just a list of food pairings in one line.
Okay.
Commas. So I did that, and then I also figured I would use the yeast type.
Yeah.
Just clean up the yeast type for my tooltips. So I removed those W yeast number, just left.
So it just says American
just
Ale.
name.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like this. And then I just cleaned the data to remove the spaces from before the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was it.
Okay, great.
So moving on to visualization, this data only has 25 beers, so and it's quite informative. So I just made it an engaging visualization through which you can learn more about different beers. 25 is quite a lot to show on the scatter plot. So I grouped them into 3 groups by volume of alcohol. So for example, if you are drinking a beer that has more than 8%, you can easily find it on the scatter plot, which is maybe not too specific because the bottles are quite high, but at the end, I figured that it's not the main point of this visualization. It's just to click on the beer and then learn what can you pair it with in terms of the food. And some of the beers were keg only, so I did a little
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
thing here. Yeah, and also in tooltips you can see which yeast type was used and the exact number in case you are really curious.
So it's got 10.27%. Wow. So some of them have 40% alcohol? Or no, that's the color. Sorry.
Yeah, there was
one that was really
That's 11.2, 12.
and really expensive.
40% is like vodka, isn't it?
Where is it?
No, that's not the percentage at the bottom. That's the color. So it's. I think it's the one in the right up and to the right from where you are. No, not just up and to the right. Yeah, that one there. 14.5.
Mixtape.
Epic fusion of old Belgian, American, New England, Scotch whiskey.
You can also select
Oh, nice.
couple of
Okay.
types.
Cool. See, it's
Really good.
like a comparison.
I like how you matched all the colors to the BrewDog logo as well.
I
So
searched the code for that HTML code for this color.
okay. Well, you can also just use the color picker. I don't know if you know how to use the color picker.
I've used that before, but
Okay. So did you add a palette into your preferences file for this, or just type it in?
I didn't.
Okay. And where'd you get all the bottle images from?
It was in the API.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, great.
The links to the images, so
Yeah.
I downloaded them.
Right. Okay, and then you added them as shape files. Is that what they are?
Yes.
Okay. That's really good. It's very clean too. I like how it's very, very easy to use. Select bottles to learn more. Good instructions. And how is your? Can you click on your drop down? So those are in order as well, right? Okay, so you're defaulting it when you publish this. You're going to default it to just one of them, so it's not
Yes,
too busy.
it's
Okay,
defaulted.
but you did give them the option to pick them all up. Okay, that's good. Really good. I like it. So what does color mean? I know what color means, but what does it mean in this context? Like, what is that?
It's just
The darkness?
yeah, the darkness.
Oh, okay,
of the,
okay.
So 100's like dark ale and 0's
Must be
a
like,
pale ale.
yeah, or probably like a blonde or something. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. So what's the one on the bottom left then? The one that's must be very yellow, or very light. Okay, I haven't had that. Okay, chicken wings. I like the food pairings too. I could use this at home. I have a whole case of BrewDog waiting for me, so
Nice.
I'll have to use it. And make sure you publish all these at Tableau Public, by the way, and tag Sophie in it. Maybe tweet it. Maybe she'll visit today.
Hashtag BrewDog.
Yeah, very good. Good job. Well done. Who's next? Neil?
Sort of.
Did it end up being overall a pretty easy project?
Yes.
Because the APIs were nice and easy and you didn't have to iterate. So did Amy show you guys how to do iterative macros?
No.
Okay, so we'll do that next week.
Hello, I'm Neil. This is my API. This is a real-time look at US drone strikes in Yemen, Pakistan, and Somalia. I don't know where they get the source information from. There's no real data on that. I think they harvest it from Twitter. So they look for Twitter for drone strikes, and then they create this as an API.
It doesn't really say in the website, does it? Yeah.
There's no real detail behind it about where they actually, but they do have tweets and link to tweets. They also use a lot of data from the Bureau of Investigative Journalism.
Okay.
So maybe that's where.
So they're cobbling together multiple sources then, but they're giving it in a nice format.
In a nice, easy API to download. So looking at the Alteryx workflow, so just like the others, it was just one URL to download, running through the JSON parser. There's quite a lot of header data in the URL, so I just filtered on that just to look at anything that contained the word strike, which was the data relating to the strikes.
Mm-hmm.
Then the standard text columns. The numbers in there were contained as strings. So I ran them through the autofield. That actually didn't really work. There's blanks in the data and not nulls. So the autofield didn't actually change anything.
So if you do a select then and force it to a number, then the blanks become nulls.
Exactly,
right?
and that's what I did on the next step. So I forced all of the numbers to be numbers.
Okay.
An additional thing I did, the deaths number included was the sum of children's and civilians. Mm-hmm. So I just created a new field which was just an offset of the two.
Okay.
Just so I could then have a kind of child deaths and then the total deaths and stuff like that.
So what'd you do then when the third row there where it says civilians 0 to 34?
I didn't use that column. There's another.
Oh, I see.
There's another column further on which is that one, deaths.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And that was pure numbers. So that's the column that I used for the final numbers. So now I was looking around for inspiration, and I came across these two. Everyone's favourite, a rat's bloody toll, and this one as well, which is also on drone strike data. And I liked I like this one, but it didn't really have that much impact, I didn't think. So I was kind of thinking, well, it looks kind of like this one, so I thought I'd try and make the two, try and combine the two together. Yeah, I like the way this one kind of picked out each individual person.
Right.
So it wasn't just a number, it was actually representing something. But then I like this, obviously, this one has really good impact on it. But the data didn't actually have the data elements within it to be able to make things in Tableau. I went back to the So I actually went back to the workflow and then added in additional data points. So I actually added in some additional data points. So I split off each point to look at the number of child deaths, the total number of deaths, and then the number of injuries. And I used the generate row tools to use to go. Did you call it densify the data? Yeah. So I densified the data. So I created an individual data point for each instance of each type of casualty that I was looking at. Did a bit of formatting just to give it a record type, and then merged them all back together to create one long list, and then rejoined all of that back into my original data set. So I ended up with 7,000.
So you end up with so if there's 34 deaths, you end up with 34 lines, right?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah.
So because you want to be able to do a mark for each person.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So the original data set had 642 records.
Right.
And I transformed.
So when you did your generate rows, did you tell it to do it based on the maximum number?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So in the generate rows tool. I could define.
So you're able to use the field then to do it. Okay, cool.
And it just creates one until it hits that number, starts the next part of it.
Excellent. Okay, good.
Yeah. So then I ended up with 7,000 rows. Also wanted, when I was originally putting it into Tableau, I was having problems with it aligning into months. It was grouping months together, so some months were looking wider if they were doing like 4 columns per month. I'm not sure why it was doing that. It's probably the way I was setting it up in Tableau. But what I decided to do is go back to the workflow and give each month its own unique data point, and that way when I dropped it into Tableau, it would give me a nice even view across the screen. So I just did that. I created each month, gave each month its own record, and then again joined that back into the original data source. So I gave each record basically a month ID.
Right.
and then I also gave it an overall record ID to keep everything in order. And then the last thing I did was I got annoyed with having to close down the Tableau workbook every time I reran the workflow because I was doing it quite a lot. So I published it to server instead, and I could just refresh the workflow, which made it a lot easier to work with.
And did you publish this workflow to Alteryx server then?
No, so, we didn't do that. We didn't cover that.
Oh, you didn't cover that?
No.
Okay.
That would be awesome because this is a live API, so it'd
Right.
be good to have it
Right.
up to date.
So what would be good would be for you to actually, in order to keep Tableau Public up to date,
Yeah.
is you would export it to a Google Sheet,
Okay.
and then
That refreshes.
and then you could run that a refresh on that
Okay.
because Tableau Public can update based on a Google Sheet.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
but no, I mean, if you're thinking more from like what you might do for clients and things like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
this is obviously a better way to do it.
Can I
Tableau
ask,
server.
sorry, can I ask a question
Mm.
for your workflow? So what you did with the dates, you basically trim each date to the
Yeah,
to
just
the beginning, yes?
yeah, just so I split off all of the dates. Then I just took out just trimmed it to the month.
truncated
so the year,
it to the month.
Yeah, truncated.
Okay,
it.
because you only wanted monthly level data,
That's
not daily level.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then created a record ID for each one of those.
Oh, okay.
months.
Okay.
So then go back to the final viz. And this is the final viz.
So hit the you can hit the full screen button there on the upper.
So I might go to meeting.
No, on the scroll up. There's a, yeah, there you go.
So this is my final viz. So I wanted it to be kind of exploratory and analytical. So you can hover over each one of these. Each one of these is an incident type that's related to the top. Couldn't quite get the colours right.
So what is the one age? So child deaths. Okay, so you're
Yeah.
trying to just make that almost like a different shade of red.
Yeah,
right?
it was the darkest red I could make it without it being black.
Okay.
But you can click on them
Okay, and
and
it
it will
highlights.
highlight
Yeah.
them for you.
So wow, there was one in 2006.
Yeah, it was a big one in 2006.
Killed a lot of kids.
But then there hasn't been this big kind of, I suppose, collateral damage, so
Yeah.
say, but yeah, not that many.
So the only issue, so I really like how you designed this. It looks really, really good. I'm not sure the green is more of a positive color.
Yeah.
So I might have used like maybe a gray or something instead,
Yeah, that would have worked.
because that would go with the red as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Can you please hover on the tool so you can stay on one?
Oh, sorry. There we go.
I like how you use one box per stripe so that it's easier to,
Kind of quantified. Yeah.
Well, it's one drone strike per person per strike.
Yes. So each box is
So
one person.
if you hover over one box again, so it says there's 6 adults and 3 people and injured 3. So there's 9 boxes for that
Yeah.
one.
Right.
So if I
drone
click
strike.
on that one, it highlights
All 9
boxes. These are GANs and not boxes.
Okay.
The boxes were overlapping each other,
Okay.
and I couldn't get it to break.
Do it just right.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I went for a GANs instead. But that meant when I put the board around it to break them out, I just kind of lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Because they're so small.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, so you can click on any of them.
You almost need to make it a lot taller, probably.
Yeah.
And it didn't fit. It won't fit in
That's
the
it.
screen.
Yeah, and that's it. I was kind of. I personally prefer things that are just on one screen.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
scroll about and look about.
Cool. I really like how you took it from a bit of inspiration and then tried to combine those. That's a good, good way to do that. Yeah. Cool. Good stuff. Well done. And then, so what does it mean by refine by country? Okay.
So you can then also look at just.
So that's where they occurred.
Yeah.
basically,
So
right?
that's
Okay.
the point of location.
Wow. Look at that. Wow. It's almost like it goes down and then back up. It's almost like a V shape.
I was most surprised about Yemen actually, because even though there's not a lot, I didn't even know that they were bombing
In Yemen.
Yemen.
Yeah. But, and which country has the most? Is it
Pakistan. Yeah. And this majority on the.
Wow, look at that.
Oh, sorry.
Somalia.
So it's not actually that many in Somalia.
Well,
But again,
there is
I didn't even know it was
relative to the others.
I didn't even know it was a
That
country of target.
exactly. Yeah.
I wonder if how many of these they call it Pakistan, how many actually across the border in
Afghanistan are right on the border. Yeah.
Which again is surprising why there's no drone strikes in Afghanistan.
Yeah,
We've already drone strikes.
I was going to say, is there Syria data? Iraq
Sorry?
data? Was there Iraq data?
No, there was nothing. It was just Pakistan, Somalia, and Yemen.
Might be like
Which, yeah,
You know, one thing I like that you did here is you had geographic fields, but you didn't use them.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of times they think if they have geographic fields, they have to create a map no matter what. And you don't, right? A map wouldn't actually tell the same story that this does. Like you wouldn't get the sense for the patterns and the sheer volume. I don't think you would get the same sense for it.
The only thing I considered was putting something in it, not to show like the volume or anything like that, but just to show it where it is, because some people's geography isn't great.
But the geography really doesn't matter because
No.
that's not part of the story,
That's
right?
true.
Yeah. So I think you made a good choice by not including by not including a map. You know, I see that a lot in Makeover Monday stuff. If you put a geographic field in there, 75% of people will create a map whether you need one or not.
And you tweeted that while we were working on this.
Yeah.
I almost did a map just to go against that, but then I chose not.
Okay, very good. Well, looks like it's there.
For free geographical locations, you wouldn't get much out.
No.
Oh yeah. Okay. So Ravi was saying maybe a good use of space would be to change that filter because you have a big space up there in the upper right. Change it to a single value filter.
Okay. Yeah.
Where you can, that'd be a good one. Cool. Thanks, Ravi. All right. Well done, Neil. Good job. Philippe, you're up. Phil's next, right? Oh, sorry. You guys are messing me up with the abbreviations here. Is that just because Jamie's handwriting's so bad you can't read more than 3 letters at a time? Initials, yeah. Feel free to chime in, Georgia, if you have any feedback.
I don't think I'm going to have feedback. It's interesting, but I don't think I can really comment on this.
So hello, I'm Natasha, and my API was about the flu track. So this is an API that tracks Twitter, so here it says that it gathers related tweets from the entire world with searching tags that are synonyms. That are
related to
flu and flu symptoms. I would also say in my other comment about this that it's also again English-based version. So if you look at the map, so I know that here they filter by America, but if you look at the map, it's mainly English-speaking countries.
Sure. Yeah.
So
yeah.
So here was a really brief description about API, and also they don't provide full list because I guess there is a lot of data, so you can either search for specific symptoms, like specific words, or you can return results for the last number of days, or basically do some limits. So I use just this JSON file which downloads I think it uses the latest weekly data.
Okay.
So I use this one. And this is the workflow. So as everyone else, just paste the URL into the input, download the data. Then I use the JSON parse tool and split the text to columns as this column contained 0 as specific
that's like an ID almost.
Yes,
yeah.
like object. And the name. So this all nice in columns. Use the select tool to remove one, like the column the one from which I take on everything. Then I used the cross-tab tool where I put rows into the columns with the JSON name being like this ID, and that summarized latitude, longitude, tweet date, and tweet text, and the username. So again, a little select tool to clean unnecessary columns. And so here comes the interesting part. So my tweet date time was very unknown. Unknown.
You didn't know.
Unknown format. Yeah, that didn't make any sense. They didn't really explain in the documentation what does it mean. So looking at the GitHub and looking at the code, I realized that this is a Unix date. So then I used the formula. Well, Unix date is just basically how many seconds passed from 1st of January 1970. And the formula adds this number of seconds to the date, and then we have the
nice date field.
Normal date in, I think it's UTS in Alteryx. So something that we can work with. Again, a little bit of select statement to clean up the columns. Used the cleanup tool to remove the spaces and put the date into the date field, I guess. And then export. So yes, and another note. So for this, as it's tweets, it had some emojis, and Alteryx just treat them as little squares. So I left them like that. I wanted to clean them, but I decided to just leave and see what happens.
You could count the number of emojis then, right? Because you could count that symbol.
Yeah, but I just didn't do anything. So I just exported everything into a Tableau TD file. And in TD, it was just squares. It didn't recognize. I think it recognized just simple smile, and that's it. And the rest was squares. But little bonuses. After you upload it into the Tableau public, I think because it begins again to be a web browser page, so we can see that.
Oh, does it convert
all
them?
our emoji are
back. Nice.
Yes.
Cool.
So,
good thing you left them in there then.
Yeah. You just don't have to do anything.
There was one right there. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good tip. Yeah.
They're also, I think that there is a bit if you scroll onto them, there is really a big variety of different smiles, so they're all back.
Okay,
nice.
But when you built this in Tableau, you couldn't see them, but once you put it in the browser, you can see it. Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Huh.
I had a bit of a tip, so maybe I can do every emoji as a shape and download its shape and decide. Yeah, but it's that's too much work.
But now you know you don't have to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's cool. It's just the thing is don't touch them. Just leave them
just leave them alone.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they'll appear.
Okay.
So I would say that my map is a bit again inspired probably by the same that was at the API.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of similar. I just changed a little bit of colors.
And also them having all those little symbols piled on top of each other, it's hard to really see anything, right?
Yes, and so again, initially I wanted to have a look at the whole world, not only the US, but as I said, so most of it's English-speaking country, and most of them in the US. So there's a few tweets in the UK, Singapore, a few in Australia, and that's it. So there's was a big empty map, and I decided, okay, I'll go to focus on United States. So because I had the data for the last week, so I also split it into days, so you can see almost. No, you can't. So that was, I think, the last week, the data from the last week, so it's last February, and so people are getting sicker and sicker in different countries. Also for this, you can see how many tweets were tracked on that particular day in America. Almost no one likes to get sick on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
tell the
and
people.
and
You would think you'd see like, so is Monday the biggest day?
Yes.
That's people not wanting to go back to work, not
Yeah.
people wanting to start their weekend early.
Yes.
Right.
No one
Interesting.
wants to be sick on the weekend.
Yeah.
Party
Or
too
Friday.
They wait till Monday.
Party
Yeah.
too hard during the week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I would say, like my notes about this project and API, I think there was a discussion that was brought by someone from DS4 that basically when you use this count, it doesn't track, it just basically track where the population lives more because
Yeah.
obviously like here more people live.
In
So
New
they were
York,
like,
and yeah, it's New York and LA basically.
yeah, and again, it's
That's
also
fine.
Twitter is like not everyone tweets, so
Yeah.
it's kind of a questionable measure
Yeah.
of a flu track, but that's what was API
Yeah.
about. So
So when you guys tweet these out, you should make sure you tag in the people that created the APIs so they can see what people are creating with their data set. They always like to see that.
When we tweet them out.
When you should tweet out your a blog post and
Or a link
and
to
the
the
image.
public.
Yeah, or write a blog post about it, one or the other.
how can I tag them? How do I know who they are?
Because it's probably on it's probably on the API page somewhere. Very good. I like it. I like your minimal use of color there either. It's very good. The black background with the red dots works well.
Yeah, so it was the like black background isn't something like negative, being sick. So
Yeah. It's a good theme. Yeah, it almost looks like death almost, right?
I really like the transparency on the points. So
Yeah.
it really brings out where the hotspots are.
Yeah.
Yeah, the concentrations
Yeah.
are easier to spot.
It's very good.
Yeah.
And I like how you just kind of stuck the data source and the period down there for reference on the bottom right. That's good.
Thank you.
Nice. Well done. Philippe?
Yeah, okay, great. I'm Philippe. So my API involved great data from the USGS, that's the United States Geological Survey, which, having looked at the data, seems like there's a bias towards the United States, which there is, as with every US organization.
Well, it is the U.S. Geological Survey, so that
Right.
would make sense that it would be U.S. biased.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's world data from the world. It should include
There's
everything.
probably more detectors in the U.S. That's probably why.
There probably is. That's what it certainly looks like when you look at the data.
It's always okay to be biased toward the U.S.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would have a problem with that.
So my workflow looked pretty similar to everyone else's, to be honest.
So is your input also just a single?
Single JSON file.
Okay. Just a link.
Sorry, just a single link. Yeah. Pass out the JSON.
So nice I like your documentation on here. That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, I was quite particular. I kind of have got a penchant now for making sure all the data types, all the labels and things are good before I put it into Tableau.
Yeah. It speeds things up once you get into Tableau. Then. Yeah.
So I save it all for there. I think the only real upset was getting date time and date from. I don't know if you officially call it, but the time was in milliseconds since 1970. Yeah, 1st of January, same as Thatcher's. UTC. So produce some nice charts down here, as you can see. exploring Alteryx's visualization. So then I quickly moved over to Tableau, and
Got a slight lag. Sorry, just give it a second. Okay.
yep, and you can see where are the most earthquake-prone zones. So this is throughout the last month. So in total there are just over 7,000 earthquakes in the last month.
Mm.
Most of them occur around the Pacific Rim, this sort of area around the Pacific Ocean, also called the Ring of Fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got this, what do you call it, bubble line chart on the right here, and it shows, so it's ordered by the number of earthquakes in that region.
Okay.
You originally just got a description, so I had to use regular expressions to get the actual place out of it, and then sort of mostly manually grouped things like, so if it said near Fiji and Fiji,
Okay.
I thought, oh, that's Fiji. Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, there's probably more sensitive and more detectors, more stations in America, because there's a huge number of earthquakes there. I also wonder whether some of the drilling might also cause some of these tremors, because
Yeah, so like the way you see like in Oklahoma, those are all because of the fracking that they're doing now.
is that right? Yeah, I did wonder.
Because there were never earthquakes in Oklahoma until they started doing that.
Right, because it leaves kind of vacuums and then things
Yeah.
shift into that space. But it doesn't cause major earthquakes, just small tremors. So
Well, they're major when the houses aren't built to sustain any earthquakes.
really,
Yeah. Why would they build houses in Oklahoma for earthquakes? To be earthquake proof.
true. But the magnitude of those earthquakes are so small, I wouldn't have thought it would make such a difference.
Yeah, I mean it could.
I suppose if there's a lot of them over a long period of time. So yeah, Alaska, it turns out, has the most earthquakes, or at least according to this data. But if you can increase the threshold, then it should update the list to the.
So what does the threshold mean there?
So the threshold is the magnitude.
Oh, okay. So that's just earth. So now you're saying just earthquakes over 1.5.
Exactly.
Or 2.
And it took me quite a while to suss out how you get this list to filter, to update after you've increased the magnitude.
Okay.
Because before it found the most, so
Right.
the top, say, 10 most places with the most earthquakes, and then it just got rid of places that
Okay.
didn't meet that threshold, so it just but now it's the most over the threshold. So
That's
yeah,
good. I like your label then. Your 1557 of, with the. So there were 7,275 earthquakes in total, and 646 of them were 3.5 or greater.
exactly. Yeah,
That's
so
really good. I like that.
so a lot of earthquakes happen, so like about sort of 8,000 every month, but only a few of them you'd actually probably feel.
Yeah.
I think 3 or 4 you can feel an earthquake, and then when it gets up to sort of 6 or 7, that's when you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the just increase it until we find the biggest earthquakes that occurred. I think the biggest one occurred quite recently in Fiji, and you can search for them, and you do find them in the news. It will say Fiji. If you search Fiji earthquake, it will come
Sure.
up with the data point we can
Yeah.
see there, which is quite nice.
Yeah, it's good.
So yeah, that's
I really like your thing on the upper right, how it looks like a mountain to me. I kind of like
that was originally just like, as a designer, I thought, I'll use a chart as a design to look like a crack or a Richter scale kind of thing. But then it kind of.
And I like how you have a reference line on there for the magnitude that you've chosen. So
So it shows what the magnitude is there,
Yeah.
and then you.
yeah, you got a lot of really good context in here. It's really good. One thing I would use, you probably don't need the word date up above your date.
I probably don't know.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I like how you have the alternate striping, but I would continue the striping all the way across to the left.
Okay.
So the name.
That way, the where it says like Indonesia and 7, that whole row going across is a stripe. I think it might help it, look a little bit cleaner.
Okay.
But really good color choices too. I think the blue matches. I guess you chose it to match the blue of the map.
So often
right?
my color choice is just dictated by what I can get the color of the
and
map.
that's fine. Yeah, but the brown works really well, and I think brown's a great color for earthquake. I don't know what other color you would use.
Brown because it's earth, and also
Yeah.
I wondered if it was the complementary color wasn't not exactly sure. It
Yeah.
must be close.
There are
to
websites where
complementary
you
colours.
can find complementary colors. I don't remember which one it is, but there's a website that you could type as hex code in and it'll give you the complementary color.
I know it's orange and blue, so I think sort of teal
Yeah,
and brown
yeah,
is probably
yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so I think that looks really like the font you used as well. One thing to be aware of is when you use custom fonts or like Tableau Public only has like 5 fonts that it supports.
Yeah.
So when you publish this, it's not going to end up looking at that font. So that's why it's important when you put it on Twitter to post a picture of it as well, so that people can see kind of what the original design looked like. So,
One other point.
Yeah.
One other point is that if they've got the same number, it's actually ordered by the largest in the.
oh, okay, yeah. Which one had the highest magnitude?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Out of those two.
Yeah, it's good. Really good.
And
I
that's
like it.
just, so your date range is only the last month or last 30 days.
Yeah, well, that's the only data that I have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what might be good is maybe underneath of your title is to have just a small font or something subtitle, or even maybe next to where you have source USGS, but covers this date range or something like that. Yeah.
And it would
Because
be
we don't know what year it is, for example.
No, that's true. Yeah.
But that's just a minor thing.
It would be good to have it updated, and then you could just say 30 days ago, 15 days ago, 10 days ago.
Yeah, yeah.
If you could get it to automatically update.
Well, you could call the API every day and then just append the new data.
Yeah, I quite like it, but it's just minor suggestion. Maybe a threshold could be like, an area where I think you can make a filter which goes like from the 2 sides, and you can move, for example, from 0 to 3 or like.
Oh,
you mean have an upper limit?
Yeah.
So
set range.
Is that a filter, or is it just the pages shelf where you have the threshold thing?
So that's a parameter. I
Okay.
couldn't actually get it to work with a filter for the reason I was describing when it got rid of.
I see.
those. But,
So you'd end up having to use 2 parameters, which would look kind of ugly.
Oh, yeah.
But I was with the filter. I just wanted a minimum, really, anyway. So.
Yeah, just a design choice. But I like I really like your context underneath of the number of where you have earthquake over 5.0 magnitude. That's really, really good. And I like how you made the one number big and then the other one small, just for context. That's a really good design choice.
The only thing I find a little bit confusing on it, and I think this is Tableau, not the way you've done it, is the sizing of the bubbles. Because you've got, on your Indonesia one, you've got like really small bubbles here, but actually those are quite big earthquakes. When you went back to threshold 1, those bubbles were massive on the
so you'd want the sizes to be the same in the right and in the map, probably.
Yeah, just consistent across whichever threshold you pick, the sizes are relevant to
so
that
you can fix the sizes in the map.
Okay.
Where I think right now it's relative to what you have in the view, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's a minor thing. So
Yeah.
some feedback from let's see, from Ravi. Make the font on the right table less intense. I guess it probably means less bold. Like the fonts where it says Indonesia and 7, maybe make it, if it's not bold, I think that's maybe what he means by that.
Make it bold
Yeah,
or make it
No,
not
make
bold?
it not bold. Yeah.
Okay.
Like it's the top right chart, same with the bottom left source, more font, less intense font. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, cool. Very good. Nice work. Good job. Marco? So you should get did it send you a present and download request? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay, yep, you good? And again, it's a couple second delay, so.
Yeah. Mark, my API was about USA data. So various kind of census data on population, age, things like that. So with the API, you could request to bring back different fields as you require. So switch to my flow here. So on my flow at the end, you put some parameters to say which fields you want. So I've got population here, income and age, for example. So the 3 that I worked with.
Oh, so you can bring back 3 at once then?
You can bring back 3 at once.
Oh, well, nice.
And I tried bringing back more, actually, but now I run into a character length of the URL.
Yeah, that's
So
where you'd have to actually build up the URL in a or build it up in a formula. Yeah.
Right.
That's what you had to do.
Yeah.
So yes, that's the input, and then download the data. These are the kind of same as everyone else, I guess. And then what I had to do was just take out the headers and the URL string past the JSON file, and then it comes back with the the data in the 0, 0, 0, 1, and so on. Guessing most people like that, so then split that out. So you've got the separate data fields.
Mm-hmm.
Then take out the redundant data that's grouped together. Then I cross-tabbed it, so grouped it, and then you can see here. So you've got your fields here. So this is a state code. So it doesn't have the state name, it has the codes. I'll come to that in a second. And then you've got the population, and then the salary, and the age. So I just cleaned that up a bit, and I filtered out there some rows where it was like extra, just rows at the end. So I just filtered to for rows where the year was not empty.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I had to do was.
So those are like footers almost, probably, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then down here, I had to bring in the do a separate API call to what is called attributes, ATTRS there, and that is the name of the state. So then that gives you all of the state codes and the names. Let's pass that in here. Yeah, so there you can see like the code, and then Texas, the code, and then Pennsylvania, and so on. And then just sort of cross-tab all that, and then I group them together or combine them. So then you look up the correct code, the correct state for each code.
Nice.
Clean that up and then put it into a TE file. So go to Tableau, and it's a fairly simple visualization, I guess. Just got a map, and I put like a picture of a map up here, and then this is all used to be red. Kind of just reviewing that with a few people on last week, it said a bit confusing. People might think that this chart relates to this chart and so on. So I changed the color of this one, made it blue, and then also actually Andy Dick was suggesting maybe try and make it look a bit like the map. So you've got kind of blue in the top left and the kind of right.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that works. You kind of have to point it out, but so yeah, it's basically you've got your income up here with about 7 or 8 grades. I guess we're not too surprising. So the coast, California, and then around East Coast are higher median income. A few states in the middle. This is Minnesota, doing pretty well as well. Top 10 states by population: California, Texas, New York, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the age there, most of the median ages were going up, but there are 7 states where they were actually decreasing, so I just highlighted those. Montana, Hawaii, a few others. So I didn't really get into why that was happening, but I thought it was an interesting point to look at. And then you just look at the median ages across, the lowest is Utah, median age of about 30, and the highest is Maine with about 43.
So the median age is 30 in Utah because they each have a zillion kids.
Right.
They're Mormon.
Okay.
So there's no such thing as birth control. So they just have lots and lots of kids, massive families, like 13, 14 kids, things like that. Yeah.
Do many people retire in Maine?
Probably.
I don't know. Not a lot of people stay in Maine though. There's not a lot to do there. So everyone I know that I went to college with, it's a summer home or
New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's interesting. So what's the second one? New Hampshire, Vermont, New Hampshire. So those are the 3 on the upper right.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's the next one after that?
West Virginia,
Florida. I'm surprised West Virginia is that high, 41. Or median age. Yeah, so that factors in children as well.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Huh. It's really good. Yeah, I like it. I do like the layout of this. I think it's really good and putting the borders around them really makes them look like separate
things.
Reports almost, where if you didn't have those, you might think it was all kind of one thing. So I think that's a good design choice there as well. And highlighting just the things that changed in the slope graph is really good. I like that.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do with that data set, actually, right? Let's see what Ravi says. Ravi says kill the borders. I disagree. So, could use a highlighter quite nicely. Yeah, you could use a highlighter. Yeah. So when you click on a state, maybe it highlights it everywhere else or something like that. Where it would highlight Texas on the right.
Oh, yeah, I think I did it the other way around. If you highlight the.
So in filters, I would probably do a highlight instead of a filter. Yeah.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Oh, so just disembodied.
Yeah.
So, but that's an easy thing to change.
Yeah.
And on your map, when you hover over your map there, I would probably, since you have the map fixed, you pinned the map, I would probably hide the controls as well so people don't move the map around by accident.
Yeah, don't have to do that.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we haven't covered that yet. Good, really good. I like how clean it is. It's good.
Yeah.
Nice, well done. The only thing I might have done different color-wise is maybe use the official colors for the American flag for the reds and the blues.
Right, darker red.
So there is like an official hex code for the blue, and that could be like the right edge of your. So that could be the right edge of your range, and then just use the American flag red for the others, but as a minor things. All right. So the borders are great overall. Okay. Oh, he's saying he doesn't think you need the borders on the one on the bottom right for your sources. Okay. That's his good way of not arguing with me. Good boy, Robbie. Okay, so he's been well trained.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hi, I'm Laura, and my API was the New York Times most popular article. So this is the website that you can go to. You can choose whether you want to look at most emailed, most shared, or most viewed. So I chose most viewed. You can see the parameters down here. What made mine interesting is that I needed an API key. And it also wasn't really obvious from the sample code here how to attach that. So there was a bit of trial and error there. The other thing I realized by playing around with this site was that, so when you select a section, so a section of the newspaper, choose arts, and then you can choose your time period, either 1 day, 7 days, or 30 days. So I tried with 1 day first, and I realized that I only got 20 results.
Right.
And then I changed it to 30. Expecting to get a load more, and I still only got 30 or 20 results.
Okay.
So my API is actually not returning any numbers or measures at all. It's just returning a list of the top 20 articles.
Okay.
Based on the number of views, which it doesn't disclose.
So you just have to assume the order they come back.
Yes. So that's the rank.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So views 1 is like
the most viewed. Oh, okay. Okay.
And so
that's right. 20, I remember looking at that.
Yeah,
Like,
a top 20 list is not there's not a lot you can visualize with that. So that's what when I went into Alteryx, I decided to pull back not just one, but the top 20 lists for every single section. So that would give me more possibilities. So what I did was I actually created an Excel file where I just listed the section choices, and I imported that. And then because I needed to add an API key, my text was too long for the import text tool to use the URL in there, so I made it a formula and said, I made it dynamic, so it would run through each one of the sections.
Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Giving away the API key, but that's okay.
Well,
Anyway. That's
Anyway.
fine. They can shut it down.
So-
Doesn't matter.
then I downloaded the data, selected only downloaded data, parsed the JSON, and then parsed it again using text to columns.
Mhm.
Then if we scroll down, you'll see that there's a bunch of stuff up here. Your status, okay. What really all I cared about was things that started with results.
Okay.
So I did a filter to say I only want things with results because up there was no data associated with all the other headers.
Mhm.
Did a select tool again to get rid of my extra columns. Cross-tabbed it, and then I selected again to get rid of a lot of the sort of geo facet, description facet, which maybe had 1 or 2 data points and wasn't consistent for everything. Also, if there was media associated, so media meant the image that went along with the article, and there were just data points on the size of the image, the URL for the image, it just went on and on. Okay, and then I forgot what this is. Oh,
That's
autofield,
yeah.
right? So to change.
So probably because your date's probably a string before that, right? If you go back to your
So
select
my
tool.
published
Yeah.
date, ID, and then I threw that out into a TDE. So
Okay.
still, when I got into Tableau, I'm still only dealing with top 20 lists. So now I have maybe like 20 top 20 lists.
Right.
So, but there were no.
Very tough to visualize.
Yeah, it was. I had to create my own measures, so I count the number of articles, and I thought to make it sort of topical and relevant to see how much of your top 20 articles in the last 30 days were Trump-related news or news related to the new president. So you can look at here.
So 60 in the all sections.
In all sections, which looks at all the sections of the newspaper is the top 20 articles for that.
So 60% of the top 20 are about Trump.
Are about Trump, and you can hover over and get a description. You can click on this, and it'll take you
Oh, nice.
to
Good.
the article.
Yeah, very good.
So
And what did you use their font? The New York Times font?
this is an image, and then I just use Times New Roman
Okay.
in here because it's similar-ish, and it also shows up on Tableau Public.
Yeah, it'll show up on Tableau Public.
So,
Right?
but what's really surprising is that I feel like Trump is invading all of our news. So you select a section. We were going through them the other day, like sports.
What about food?
Oh, sorry, food. Food, I think, is Trump free. This was the.
I only got 12 results.
So that was the other one, like this New York Times Now. Oh, I'm not really sure. Maybe they only have 2 articles that were viewed, or in that section is available. I don't actually know. There wasn't a really good description on the API website. But what was I saying? So sports, we've got 10%. We're looking at Stephen Curry takes issue with Under Armour. Stephen, sorry.
Come on,
I'm
get it
so
right.
dyslexic. Just something about simple. What was the other one? Style.
Oh, so where's Oh, it was
This is
it was
all-
style, wasn't it?
First Lady. Mary Ivanka.
I have a question. Why did you decide to resize it when there are fewer than 20 or 12 or however many articles?
To make it fit the space. Yeah.
Oh, I think I just did. Yeah, so otherwise this would be just a really small list of 2.
Just to make it fill the space
just
up.
to make it fill the space up.
Because that makes Trump's face really big when it was that listed
It's kind of
too.
scary then.
Isn't it? Yeah, so you try to select that one. But there are very few sections that were 0% Trump related.
I think that's a good take on it, given the limited data that you had.
Yeah, I had to create some sort of
It's hard to
measure
visualize.
something
but
to
yeah, no, it's good.
count.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I like the, even though it's just Times New Roman, it feels like it fits in. Oops, got disconnected. Let me retry.
What did I
Sorry,
do?
something happened here.
Was that me?
No, it was me.
Oh, okay.
Something. Let's see. The New York Times font and Times New Roman seem to go really well together.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good match. Yeah, it's really good. Well done. The only other thing is I would probably make sure you source where you got the image icons from.
Yes.
So probably include that at the
So
bottom.
just
if you-
add that
Yeah,
down here.
yeah.
Mhm.
See image source, images from, or wherever. Yeah. Just to give those people credit. So you should do the same thing when you're using like icons from Flat Icon or something like that. Make sure you put in there, icons from Flat Icon or something. Very good. Nice. I like it.
All right.
Good job.
Extend
Well done.
Middle random. Sorry, I was just reading Robbie's comment out loud.
Okay. Robbie said, move your name to the corner, to a corner. Kind of in the middle randomly.
Yeah, so when I did it in
yeah,
Tableau,
On the
it
sheet,
would
it's-
space well, but then when I loaded it to server, I need to work on that.
So you're joining again?
Yeah.
Okay. right, and
Is
last-
it loading? No, it's not
Last
loading.
and least is Jamie. Just waiting for you to join in here. There is a Jamie Coles in there. Is that your other computer?
No, this is this one.
Oh, that is you. Oh, I thought you said you were joining
No.
again. Is it asking you to present?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Yes.
So this is the API. I've got my so basically my project was on the foreign exchange rates. This is the website I got my API from, so fixer.io.uk.
Oops. Sorry.
No worries.
Oh, lost it.
So yeah, so that's the API website. So basically, I use this historical rate date, the historical rate for any day since 1999, and that's the HBR I got it from. And also in Alteryx, I pass a filter like everyone else. Downloaded it, used the select tool, pass it as a JSON, field split to text and columns, then use the filter tool to equal the equal rates there, and then configured what rows and selected what APIs that I wanted, variables. But before then after that, I had to create an extra column, so to artificially create a column to put the exchange rates in. So first of all, I generated the rows, created a formula, date time add to create a whole array of rows to put the exchange rates in, configured it through the selection tool, and put the formula API to just rejig it back into the initial workflow there.
Mm-hmm.
And then do you mind just logging me back onto
So does that download every exchange rate for every day?
Yeah,
So you've done it every day since 99?
yeah. So up to today. So
And where am I flipping it over to now?
should be on now.
Oh, there we go.
So this dashboard I've finally created. So I just wanted to keep it quite simple. So my initial design was a phone design. So I initially got the idea from my iPhone, the exchange rates on there. So basically I tried to create I looked at the top 5 countries in the world, try and look at the top 5 economies in the world, really, just to keep it quite simple. So this is parameter, so you can select your dates from there. What value it's currently at today. The change rate is 1 day change. The net change is a 2-day change. And then the 2-day rolling is a line graph, spark line, just to show the net change. But obviously they're shut over the weekend, so there's nothing there. And then just as a parameter to show the overall historical trend from that day, I've just added a parameter showing 1 year, 3 months, 1 month. Yeah, so that's it, pretty much, quite simple. So the initial design was for a phone, and it to be quite interactive for the user to use.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah.
So I get what the change in the net change and it's kind of the top section. What kind of doesn't work in this particular case is that they don't really show anything.
No,
right?
that's
So because it doesn't change that much. So it might have been better to look at maybe the value and then maybe the change versus the 30-day average or something like that. So, something that would actually show a difference, right?
Yeah, so basically I kind of
You can pick a
It
different
would have
day,
looked
will it show
beautiful
the
on
change?
Friday.
that was the initial idea.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So that's where I initially got the idea from.
Okay, so that one shows, so that's showing change like within the hour or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
so-
So I wonder if there is change, but your percentages aren't precise enough.
Probably. And also I didn't have time data. I didn't have hour data.
Oh,
I only
okay.
had
Yours was only at the day,
where
so
it
there's going to be
started.
very little fluctuation
Yeah, so
day
where
by
it
day.
started.
Okay, so in your case, it might be better then to show, the average. So maybe your value is average of the last 30 days.
Yeah.
Your change versus the prior 30-day average or something like that. Yeah. Okay, I got you. Yeah.
Sorry, what is the value? What is that?
That's the current day value
Of what?
of the China
currency.
Of the China currency. Of the Chinese
So it's
yuan.
valued at 38,543, whatever their currency
Yeah,
is.
whatever their currency is.
Chinese dollars or whatever.
Chinese yuan.
To what, £1?
Yeah, it's like if you look at pounds, there is like 4,000.
Oh, so you're saying it might make more sense to have them all compared to the dollar or compared to the
That's
pound?
that's what I was given.
currencies?
That's what I was given. So
I just
So,
don't understand what this
Wash
like.
your hands of it.
so yeah, that's what I was given.
5,000 pounds to what? To dollars? To
Well, really, you shouldn't be comparing, in this particular view, you shouldn't be comparing down the table, you should be comparing across the table. But the problem is the data, because it's day by day, it doesn't really fluctuate much day to day.
Yeah.
So it might be better to look at a 30-day average versus the previous 30-day average or something like that instead.
Or take the not top 5 economies, but emerging markets, which fluctuate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it could be they're just wide open to anything to understand.
Yeah.
So I just
Okay.
What is the
Yes,
bottom
that's what
chart
Robbie's
again?
saying. What's the base currency? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was given.
So your point is, and what Robbie was saying is it's missing a bit of context.
Like if you go to that one that you were using as your reference, you see this, when currencies are quoted, you usually see 2 of them at a time,
No, euros
because you
to
see
dollar.
what's relative
Oh,
to.
euro to dollar. Oh,
But,
so maybe
yeah,
that's why
this-
you're seeing the change then.
Yeah, that was what I was given. So I can't really.
Yeah. Well, this probably has that's a different, so that's actually the currency
Can you go back to the
exchange.
Yeah.
API
Yeah, this is-
description, please?
Whereas the other's a foreign exchange market. which is
Right,
different.
so it's just the value of that,
pound.
Of that
right,
on
right.
that market.
Yeah. Whatever.
So it doesn't really have the difference between the two. It doesn't have, so the API he was using doesn't have euro to dollar.
Yeah,
Or
you
dollar
need
to
sort of
euro.
like a base currency to compare it to.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
we're not having big numbers in 4,900
Yeah,
for
that's-
pound.
For what?
yeah, no, it's what I was given.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I can't really.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Okay,
Yeah,
so-
I'm only talking off from there.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
all right, good job this week, guys, well done. Again, week 1 for Alteryx, learning how to prep data, and I think APIs are a really good exercise for data cleansing and prepping and things like that. And there's tons more on those websites that have, there's lots of free open APIs out there to play around with. So, all right. Thank you very much. And Robbie, anything else? Let's see. We said something. Okay. Peace out, homies. All right. We'll see you guys.
Bye, Robbie.
Bye.